Hey, good morning or good evening to you, Samuel.
Well, a very good day to you, darling. Hope you're well.
I am well, and I hope you are too. We're
Yes,
going to
I'm
be
all
getting
right.
into that.
Quite.
Um, want to say hello to the amazing chat that is here live. Hello to the replay crew. You know, Samuel and I could not do this without you.
Quite.
Uh, and before we get started, if you guys have any questions or comments, leave them in the chat box there. Try and make it bolded, comment or question. We have my amazing wife, Andrea, in the background. She's going to be starring comments. If you have anything fun or anything interesting to say to her as well, feel free to throw those in. But yeah, that's the plan.
Fabulous.
Today, we're talking about a pretty big day for Mr. SB Chef.
Mm,
There was a little protest that happened last
quite right.
weekend.
Yeah.
You just got back yesterday,
hmm
and boy, are your arms tired, right? Uh,
Well, it's okay. It's okay actually. But yeah, I was holding the whole time. I was always holding my two signs and
yeah,
obviously the phone.
yeah. So, as everyone knows, Alex organized a protest outside St. Hill again. I was very sad that I wasn't able to go, although I probably would have ruined the whole thing because I was getting pretty fired up while watching.
I know.
Um,
I know. You were like egging me on. Come on, Simon, go and do that.
Yeah, go in front of the cops. Go in front of the
Yeah,
cops.
exactly.
Um, anyway, regardless, you guys did such an amazing job. And the reason I wanted to have this conversation with you personally, one on one, is because I remember what it was like for me to go back to the place that I was abused at, my local
Right.
Church of Scientology.
Yeah.
And this is yours. This is
Mm-hmm.
your, you know, blue whale, whatever. This is
Mm-hmm.
the area where you got abused, and so I wanted to kind of delve into those feelings and maybe compare them with some expectations that you might have had, as
Sure.
well as how it actually played out, and just kind of get your thoughts on it. How's that
Yeah.
sound?
Yeah. Marvelous.
Cool. Well, first question would be, what made you decide to go back to St. Hill and join this protest in the first place? What did that process look like for you?
Well, uh, last year when when the protest was happening, I was sort of I was really excited for it, and I thought to myself, "Oh, I'm gonna go and do that." But the moment that I said to myself, I was gonna do that, I had such a stone in my stomach. I was genuinely like afraid, like I had this fight or flight sort of instinct kicking in immediately. The very thought of being back there, and I thought, no, maybe I'm just not ready quite for that. So that's why I thought, okay, I'll wait a year, maybe next year. That is to say, this year. Oh, I think I just muted myself.
Oh,
All right. Um, so I thought, okay, maybe next year, that is to say, this year, maybe I'm ready. But I didn't say to myself, okay, I have to be ready by then. I just said, all right, I'll have a look. And if I don't go, then that's okay. Maybe I'll do something else another time. Now, luckily, I
mhm.
was able to be on a protest before. I was in Denmark with a marvelous team. And that was my very first protest. And that was a very good step because I was never working in that organization. My siblings were there. So that was a very good way of doing it without, you know, being thrown into the cold water right away. And that sort of prepared me a little bit. Um, so yeah, I sort of decided after a year of sort of figuring out, obviously having done started my YouTube channel this year in March, and then having done videos, interviews, and so on and so forth. And actually, having done that has helped me a lot because before doing the YouTube or before even doing the interview with you, I was genuinely ashamed of having been a Scientologist. Like if
Mhm.
ever I heard somebody saying, "Oh, did you read about Scientology in paper?" I was like, "Oh my god!" Like, don't ask my opinion about it. Um,
They
but
were missing
now,
your withhold.
right, I was listening. Yeah, absolutely.
I
And
know
but
that
now,
feeling, believe me.
yeah, I was so ashamed of it. I don't know what's happening with my audio. I do apologize.
That's okay.
I felt really ashamed, but now, I mean, you can't get me to shut up about it. So somebody asked me, "Oh, what did you do on the weekend?" Because I obviously left on Friday, and I would have worked on Friday. I said, "Oh yeah, I was on a Scientology protest," and so on and so forth. And she looked at me like, "Oh my goodness, okay." Um, so yeah, so that certainly has helped me the whole process, and it has helped me to sort of being able to talk about it, to sort of look at my past and
Mhm.
accept this has happened and try to see it as just part of my life, chapters of my lives in the past that I don't want to try to ignore anymore, but actually try to confront, basically, so I'm not ashamed of it anymore.
Mhm.
And that, I would say, all of that answers the question of what made me want to go and do the protest. And also, apart from that, I wanted to also prove to myself, also show to Scientology, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to go there and be there in front of them and whatever. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, thank you for sharing that. I think you really hit on a really good point there is for me, and it sounds like quite a bit for you, it was the matter of facing your demon, for lack
Mm,
of a better word,
sure.
really allowed you to take back some power and ownership over what happened to you.
Mm,
I've been doing a lot of reflecting on things myself. It's very easy to get bogged down in stuff that happened in your past and
yeah.
stuff, bad things that have happened. But at the end of the day, as terrible as they were, they have shaped you into the person you are now, and you're an amazing person. You're marvelous, some would say. And so I think that although it sucks that happened, it also, like you said, it's a chapter in your life, and that chapter is over, and you're now creating more chapters in order to make things better, which I think
Right.
is it's a very powerful thing to do. For
Mm,
one, it has been for me for sure. So
yeah.
that's amazing.
Mm,
Um, Okay, so you first did your one protest that was in Denmark, correct?
that's right.
And then you also went to you did a little bit of skulking around the org near you as well, did you not? At some
Well, I
point?
went to the location where the old org was, because Basel has
Okay,
an
right,
ideal org. I haven't
right.
been there, but because I happened to be around there, I had to go to my monthly prostate examination, darling, and my house doctor happens to be there, and I just sort
Mm,
of on a spur, I just said to myself, I'm gonna go and have a look at the old org. I didn't. Later on, I realized I found out that it was um, um, ripped away, and then a completely new building was put there. I didn't know when I was walking there, so I genuinely thought when I was gonna walk there, I will see the old building either empty or maybe a skeleton crew in there, or I don't know, maybe it would have just been made into central files and storage or something like that. But no, it was completely gone. So that's the only sort of thing I did here in Switzerland.
okay, cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
I knew you had gone back. I forgot whether exactly how that turned out, but that's cool.
Mm,
Um, so when you were kind of leading yourself up, you've made the decision that you're gonna go to St. Hill, you're gonna face this abuser.
yeah.
What feelings were you what were you feeling what it would be like before you had gone? Like, did you have any expectations that were kind of, forefront in your mind?
Well, I had an expectation it's going to be similar to how I felt when I went to Denmark for the protest, maybe a little bit stronger, simply because at St. Hill, obviously, there's more memory, more connection there. And how I
Mhm.
felt in Denmark was I felt really anxious. I felt like I'm gonna, be sent to ethics, like that kind of feeling, like
Mhm.
the kind of feeling that you get when you did something in the org that you were not supposed to do, and somebody saw it, and that
Mm.
person's gonna write a report now, and oh my god, forget about the day off I was gonna have. My statistics are doing really good this week. I'm not gonna be able to take the day off because of whatever is going to happen now. That was
Yeah.
the sort of the sinking feeling I had. But I want to compare it also when I started my apprenticeship as a chef.
Mm.
When I started my apprenticeship as a chef, I was really afraid that I would not be able to do it, that I'm too stupid, because I had 10 restaurants reject my my application to do an apprenticeship there because I don't have a school completion. And in Switzerland, it's not only a practical thing. You don't only go and in the kitchen you work, but also
Mhm.
one day a week you go to the culinary school, and you have to have good grades too. You don't have to be you not only have to be good in the practical, but you also have to be good at school, right? And
Right.
so I was rejected by 10 people that I applied for, and then eventually I got a place I could go to, and I was so afraid that I would fail my very at all, and I thought Scientology is right. Like if I fail, that they have won, in the sense that I was 1 foot in, 1 foot out of Scientology at this point. So I was 23 years old at this point, and
Mhm.
I knew if I fail this school, this is it. Like I'm a failure. I will never achieve anything in my life without Scientology, because I've only had Scientology all my life. This is the very first thing I would have done without the assistance or influence of Scientology. And as well, it's studying. So study tech and all of that sort of thing is all a part of that. And I remember the very
Mhm.
first exam that I did, and the first semester, I cried for 2 nights every evening because I was so afraid that I would fail the test. Because if I failed the first test, I would have stopped the apprenticeship. I would have just said, that's it. If I can't even go through the very first test, which would be the easiest, chronically speaking, that's it. And I was so, oh my god, it was such an anxious day for me. And it was funny because everybody else was like, yeah, whatever, oh, I didn't even study, and all of that. And I'm like, oh god, I'm gonna die, if I don't uh, manage this, completely overthinking. In the end, I had one of the best no one of the best results from the whole class. So it was completely unnecessary. But that little anecdote is sort of like how I felt a little bit going to Denmark, in the sense of, I need to prove to myself that I'm doing the right thing, that Scientology really is as bad as I know that it is, as bad as I've experienced it. And as unpleasant as my experience was, I mean, that is nothing in compared to so many other ex-Scientologists. And I need to be there. Not only, I had to sort of tell to myself, I'm not there for me, I'm there for them.
Mm.
Because if I'm only there for me, I don't know if I would have had the courage in that sort of way, but I know I'm there also for them. So then I was like, okay, that sort of pushed me a little bit. And then I was able to do the protest. And at the beginning, I was a little hesitant. And then I was able to speak and tell people, confront the list, and so on and so forth. And that was all fine. And then in the end, after we wrapped all up and we went home, I felt, again, this guilt. I felt really guilty for what I've just done.
Mm.
And it was weird, but I felt a little detached by the whole situation, as though somebody else was there and I was observing it rather than being me. And then it caught
Okay.
up on me a few days later, like 3-4 days later. It sort of hit me what I just did, like how severe of a crime in Scientology's eyes that was. Like that was a
Yeah.
severe step that I took. And then I had a little bit of a emotional roller coaster for a few days, but then it was fine again. So I expected it was going to be something very similar to this, maybe a bit more intense.
Mhm.
But it ended up being good. But during the whole time, I try not to show it during the chat, although the cringier my jokes became, the more irrelevant my chatter became, me talking about
Yeah.
avocados, me quoting Shakespeare. Those were the moments where I was, almost soiling myself. I was really
Yeah.
shaking. I was honestly shaking. I honestly had this irrational fear of security running out, grabbing me, and throwing me in one of the rooms.
Wow.
I know it completely makes no sense, considering that we had so
Wow.
many police officers there with the private security and so on and so forth. They would not have allowed that to happen to anybody to put their
Yeah.
hands on me. But I had this unbelievable irrational fear, and I just wanted to run away. I just wanted to run away as fast as I can. And yeah, I'm right now feeling exactly like that now, talking about it. I want to run away from here, Jeff. No, but That's really how it felt. And yeah, so I do apologize to everybody for my cringy jokes and my bad Shakespeare. But that was basically my way of sort of coping with that, trying to laugh and make fun of the situation or whatever. And luckily, I had marvelous people at the protest. And the police were fabulous. The private security were great. So, yeah. What was the
Yeah.
original
Well,
question? I'm sorry, I went on a tangent.
that's okay. Tangents are a hallmark of this channel.
Marvelous.
um, so yeah, I mean, the original question was definitely leading up to the protest, but my next question was going to be, well, let's break it down to in Denmark when you were protesting there.
Yeah.
Did you get physical sensations like you got in St. Hill, or was there a pretty big difference going somewhere where you're actually, this is
Mm.
where you were for so long?
It was a big difference. In Denmark, I mean, I had a stone in my stomach,
Hmm.
that feeling, but it wasn't a feeling of I'm gonna be grabbed and locked up in a room or anything like that. It was
Right.
just being very, very anxious, almost like having to go up on a stage and give a speech that you
Mm.
spontaneously someone said, "Oh yes, you need to go and say something," and you have no idea. Oh, that's how it felt a little bit. But at Saint Hill, it was really like being a wild animal and people trying to catch you. That's sort of how it felt. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'll explain kind of how I felt, and I've said this before on my
Sure.
live before. Like my first protest was at St. Hill. I had
Yes.
never protested Scientology before that,
Yeah.
but I have also never been to St. Hill before that.
Mm.
And so it didn't really have, I don't know, whatever it is, that feeling of going against the person or the organization specifically who is who resulted in the trauma that you've had to deal with, or I have had to
Sure.
deal with.
Sure.
But when I went to the Vancouver Church of Scientology, I remember feeling this sense of bravado. Like I did St. Hill, I faced Osa, Janet Laveau. Hi, Janet, if you're
Uh,
watching this. And I faced that German Osa guy, Luca. Is that his name? Is he
uh,
German?
no, Luca, that's the chief of security. He's Italian.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, Italian. Sorry. Anyway, very big wig in security,
Oh yeah,
New York, whatever. And
absolutely.
I had no qualms about it at all. I
Right.
mean, Alex and I remember probably the most memorable aspect of the St. Hill protest for me was my first comeback by the ninja guy who was across
Oh
the street.
yeah, that's right.
And
That's
both
right. Yeah.
Alex and I went running over to him, live streaming, camming him back,
Yeah.
the
Yeah. Yeah.
cam back, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was a really fun experience, but going into Vancouver was completely different. As soon as I
Mm.
got a block away from the org, a walk I had done thousands of times over my tenure of being on staff,
Mm-hmm.
my knees started to give way. I got shaky.
Yeah.
My mental state completely deteriorated. Like so much happened
Mm.
to the point where I just walked past the org, turned the corner, and then called my wife Andrea and said,
Mm.
"I don't know if I can do this." Like, and then of course she says, "Well, you don't have to." And the only thing that really got me feeling like I should do this is I saw an old friend of mine, James,
Mm-hmm.
who's now back on staff, and it was almost like I was changing it from doing it for myself to
Right.
doing it for him or
Right. There
for
you go.
other people,
Yeah.
and that really changed. But I had like insane physical
Mm-hmm.
reactions to being there.
Yeah.
Would you say that's sort of similar to what you experienced?
I would say and it was also as well being at Center was like, sure, I'm there for what happened to me when I was there, but I'm
Hmm.
also I'm painfully aware that marvelous list of receipts that Liz that she wrote of
Yes,
over 200
yes.
names. Well, none of the cadets that I knew or uh, the SEAL members that were cadets before I had arrived, none of their names is on these lists is on that list. These are few
Mhm.
dozen people, and none of the names that when I was a child in my local org in Switzerland, their names are not on that list. So
Right.
I was there also for them because some of them, sure, maybe some of them have left, and they don't want to talk about it, want to move on. Others are maybe still in. Others are, out in the sense of they don't believe in it, but they cannot be out in any public sense because all of their family are involved in there. I mean, as you know yourself, when you grow up as a child in Scientology, it's not only just you and your dad maybe or anything like that. It's your parents, your siblings, maybe your aunts, your uncles. It's a whole clan that is part of that. And if you were to step away from that, you just lose absolutely everything. And so it was important to me to know, to say to myself, I'm there for them more than I'm really here for me. And that sort of gave me the push, because if I'm just there for little me, I would have said, well, I'm not, I know this sounds a little pathetic, but I'm not important enough to go out there, to buy the ticket. I'm not important enough to spend that money to buy the ticket to go there, but I'm there for all of them, for all of the people that I knew that were there. Not only, the cadets, obviously, all the SEAL members and all the guys on the RPF that I knew. Obviously, I knew the RPFers somewhat because they would come to the kitchen and help. They would help with the Christmas dinner and things like that. I was for all of them there, and that sort of made it it made me justify it. It sounds stupid to say like that, but I had to sort of give myself this needed push, so to speak, to go and do that and to stay there and not run away or whatever, and stay as much as possible right at the gate, staring down that OSA guy. And rather than going right in the back and just filming the cars driving past or anything like that, I really wanted to be really also to prove it to myself, to do that. Yeah,
That's amazing. And as people are saying in the chat, you are very important.
wow.
So please do always keep that in mind.
Thank you, darling.
But yeah, and I totally understand the feelings of, I can't just be doing this for myself because, it's almost like, what's the point? It's better to do it, I think, for, the future people who are now not going to be in Scientology. Sure. And that's kind of why I think we do so much advocacy type work in kind of on the back end that people don't see, because one person that you contact that is in a position of power who then shuts down some sort of promotion effort on Scientology's part, that has wide rippling effects.
Right.
If you stop one person in authority from being an ally to Scientology, then you potentially stop thousands of people from joining Scientology or at least being exposed.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really cool way to look at it. It's almost like negative gain in Scientology, where you're removing an option for something to happen. Anyway, I won't get technical in auditing stuff, but it's really helpful. And it's important. It's very easy to lose track of that for myself.
Sure.
I'm not sure if you feel the same way, but so other than the concept that you thought maybe a security guard might come and grab you and yank you back onto post or onto some ethics cycle, which would be horrifying.
Although that would make great footage.
Oh, yeah. You would make it onto Natalie's channel for sure doing that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
What was the hardest aspect for you, either leading up to, being at, or after so far?
I think the hardest was actually being there. There and not moving away. Or when the OSA guy was taking a picture of me, I instinctively wanted to, go like that. But instead, I just raised my head and waved it friendly at him, Oh, there was this, I'm assuming gold team, maybe there were two ladies. They were they had a camera, like on a professional little, like it looked like a railway track, that you can move up and down so it doesn't like shake too much. And they were there filming of course, they were filming the cars and whatever, and people walking in, but they were also filming us. And
Mhm.
at the beginning, I didn't realize they were there. And then somebody pointed out, "Oh, look, have you seen them, or do you know them? These people over there?" And then I saw them, and then I also wanted to quickly duck away, but then I was like, "No, I need to say hello, and I need to wave and whatever." And there was also at one point one guy who apparently now works under Janet, but when I was there, he was in Foundation, so St. Hill Foundation. That's a night shift, and I
Right.
think his name was Colin. I don't remember exactly, and I saw him. Our eyes met, and I said, "Hello there." And but I really had to, um, you know, because I was at one point I wanted, like, a part of me wanted that he talked to me, and then the other
Mhm.
part was absolutely terrified if he were to talk to me, that I might get
Yeah.
completely flustered and I wouldn't know what to say. Um, yeah,
Do you think that he recognized you?
I think so. I mean, because I only have this little pathetic fluff in my face, but apart from that, it's I look pretty much the same as I did before. Okay, I had a bit more hair, fine,
Oh,
but
that must be it. That
yeah,
must be it.
no, but I think I should think he probably would have recognized me. Yeah.
Yeah. And then so like as far as other people you recognize, were there many of the staff that you recognize that you locked
No,
eyes with or just kind of know?
no. Interestingly enough, this year, which I noticed was there was only the private security. There was no super security at the gate. I went sneakily on Friday. I went to the back, to the third gate where the stables is, and there
Yep.
was a security guy there. And I talked a little bit to him, and then I realized, oh, he's silk security. And I started to talk to him. I said, "Oh, where's Luca? I haven't seen Luca at all yet. And the Laveau brothers, Jeff and Aaron, where are they?" And he looked completely perplexed that I knew the names.
Yeah.
Um, and I told him, "Yeah, I used to work here in the stables and so on and so forth." And I told him,
Mm.
I worked 100 hours. So as to you, how much pay do you get anyway? You're in CLO. How much pay do you get? I mean, I used to get £10, 15, £20 a week. I was trying to sort of, yeah, have a cash. And he was shocked. Like he looked shocked. And but it's funny because it was almost like he answered a little bit of what I was saying, almost as though he was in a drill and he has to answer the question.
Right.
you know and
Hmm.
so he answered a little bit. He didn't really answer fully, but he reminded, like, his look reminded me a little bit of myself when I was never directly in contact with anybody who doing any protest, but whenever there was a
Mhm.
protest, for example, at St. Hill, um, either I was told or already knew that these people were never in Scientology, that never even read a book. They're all hired, most likely by bad media or by psychiatrists.
Yep.
So if I would have been confronted by somebody telling me, "Oh yeah, I know this guy," and they happen to be in the same department where I work, and telling me this, that, I would have been quite, shocked by that. And that is the sort of impression he gave me. But
Yeah.
he was the only guy, the only Siok security that I saw, probably because I didn't expect me to go back there. And I had actually a discussion with Brad about that, and we came up with two sort of theories. The first theory is because of the incident that happened last year on Sunday, where I think it was Luca shoved two people on the road on oncoming
Yep.
traffic.
Yep.
Um,
Alex and I forget the other guy gentleman's name.
yeah,
Anyway, yeah, I was there. I filmed it.
right.
He just pushed him and there was this 1-ton truck
Mm,
or maybe a half-ton truck or three-quarter ton, something like that, like a cube van,
yeah, yeah,
came around the corner, and if the timing was any worse, it could have
yeah,
been really bad.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think because of that, the private security said, "That's it. We are going to take over. We're not going to do any
Mm.
mixed whateverness here. It's just
Yeah.
going to be us, and that's it. Because we are the one responsible here, and we don't want any mess happening." So I think, so we came up with that sort of idea that that's probably it. And we had a second idea, and now I just sort of forgot about it, but never mind. But that was sort of the main
Well,
thing that we sort of settled on, where we thought, I think that makes the most amount of. Oh, and the second part, and pardon me, the second part
mhm,
is
yeah.
possibly because of us shouting things, having the signs, possibly saying things to them, because obviously I don't think they knew necessarily that I was going to be there, but they knew that there
Mhm.
are, for example, Alex, who was in Scientology, right? And other people who may have been also in Scientology, that they would actually talk to them about things, on their level, of understanding, because using Scientologies and so on and so forth, that might actually influence something. And it might very well be that after the whole event, all of security had to go on the meter or whatever and sort of
Mm.
talk about what happened, and they have to, I don't know, maybe they went into some sort of trouble or whatever it was, that they decided, all right, we're just going to leave it all to the private security.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, like, man, there's so many points I could bring up about what we were just talking about. But when you're talking to a Sea Org member, and this is a question that people ask so much, is what can you say to a Scientologist or a staff member or a Sea Org member and get them to leave?
Right.
And there really is no one answer, but as per the ARC triangle in Scientology, if you are an X and you know what goes on and you start speaking the truth,
Mm.
um, I really feel like just not talking about Xenu or saying it's a cult, whatever. That's
Mm.
what Scientologists would say is out reality.
Right.
It doesn't click for them.
Yeah.
But by you going up there with in a very kind and conversational manner, just saying, "Hey, I used to make $10 a week or $40 a week or whatever,
Mm.
and I used to make your cookies. I
Mm.
ran the galley, and I worked with RPFers,
Yeah.
and I, treated them well, whatever." Um, that reality, I think, gives way more credence to your story than someone yelling it's a cult or whatever, right? Because they
Yeah.
are trained to shut that stuff down,
Yeah.
but they're not trained to shut down normal, kind conversation
Yeah.
because they're not used to it, right? Like
Yeah. They're not
most
used
people
to it.
don't protest that way.
Yeah, they're not used to it, and also their expectation is that these are people who are all hired by one entity or another, and they've never read even a book from Scientology, have no idea what they're talking about, and so
Yeah.
you feel righteous in sort of ignoring them, or putting up the middle finger or whatever, because clearly they have no idea what they're talking about. But when you have suddenly somebody before you talking about things that talking about Scientology, naming people that and you're working with
Mhm.
every day, it kind of shatters this reality of, oh wow. And as you said, you are talking to them on a level that they can understand, and that way, even if they might then turn away eventually, it cogs will be turning.
Yeah, you plant seeds, whatever, and this is what I really appreciate. As Tips
Mm.
420 says, it hits them differently.
Yeah.
I really appreciate about this style of protest that obviously Alex abides by. I try to. I don't always adhere to it, but and a lot of other people do as well. Is
Mm.
a message of kindness. I think that it's going to be effective in the long run. It may not happen right away, but I really feel like that being kind is the right way to go about to doing it. In
Well,
my opinion. But
I think it really depends. What is your goal? Is your goal trying to
yeah.
get people out of it, or is your goal making sure that nobody else goes in there?
Oh yeah,
Because
for sure.
because if you shout, "Oh, cult," and blah blah blah, they believe in aliens and so on and so forth. People like just the public, not really Scientologists, or people who might be curious, wanting to go into a free, I was about to say free sex check, free personality test or whatever. They might hear that like, oh,
No.
what? Ooh, okay, ooh, crazy people. So I think both ways are effective, but it just really depends. What is it that you're trying to do? What is the goal behind there? Is your goal trying to get people out, or is your goal stopping people to go in?
Yeah, and I'll be the one of the first people to admit that I've gone on both sides. I have definitely. You guys have all seen, if you've been watching me for a while, seen
Mm.
Zesty Jeff.
Mm.
I get fairly spicy sometimes,
But
but
very
part of the reason why I don't
sassy.
protest anymore, sassy, yes.
Mm.
I've been a jerk, frankly, a lot of
Mhm.
times, but part of the reason why I don't protest as much anymore is I don't like that side of me. I don't like the trauma response. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that if I can be effective kind of behind the scenes and obviously, online chats and so forth. I'm trying to focus on that right now, but
Sure.
I really appreciated not just your efforts, but everybody's efforts at the protest this year.
Mm.
If anything happens to like stop this protection order from going in place,
Right.
that's what you guys did. That was it. Like, there's
Yeah.
no way that anybody could possibly say you guys were aggressive or stopped anything, or unless they're on the dole, which are being paid by Scientology, which of course they are. But hopefully that gets dealt with. And I think you guys did the best job you possibly could.
Yeah. As did everybody in the chat. I mean, as far as I'm concerned,
Yes.
we were about 200 or 300 people standing there at St. Hill protesting the abuses. So yeah.
And it was so nice. Here's a little side question. How lovely was it to meet Brad? Isn't he amazing?
He is marvelous, quite marvelous. Very cuddly.
Yes, he is. And man, last year it looked like you guys had fairly good weather, but last year was
Yeah.
pretty cold and wet at times,
Yeah.
especially once it got dark. And the support that he gave me was just amazing with the tea, and he was holding an umbrella for me, and
Yeah.
it was really cool. All right. So we have a whole bunch of comments and questions. I have a few more questions I'd like to ask you
Sure.
before we get into them, though, if that's cool with you.
Go right ahead.
Let's go with, other than what's already been mentioned, has there been any standout moments from the whole weekend that you'd like to kind of go over and discuss?
Sure. I think it was on the first day, on Friday, where I don't remember actually. It's kind of a blur whether it was Friday or Saturday. It doesn't matter. Anyway, at one point I was talking to one of the private security, and he was very interested. And I was telling him, I think the conversation started with, why are you here? Or did you know anybody here? Or something like that. And I would tell him, well, as a matter of fact, I worked here for 7 years. My mother's still in there. She's been working there for 19 years. She cannot talk to me. And the more I tell him, the more his eyes sort of popped. And then I just told him a whole bunch of stuff. And he was really like very engaged and very like asking questions back and so on and so forth. However, his the chief of the higher security, that the tall guy with who has like wings, a tattoo here.
Yeah.
He
The
was
guy
the
in
same
the
guy.
pea coat, right? It was a
Yes.
blue pea coat. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's
He didn't approve.
he's not very friendly.
He's all right. He was all right, and with me anyway. And he went to him and he said like quietly, like, stop engaging, don't talk to him, stop engaging.
Yeah.
Because of course they are hired by Scientology, so it doesn't look good for him to talk to me in such a friendly manner,
Yeah.
So in that respect, the friendly ginger giant, he was more professional that way, because everything that I said or Brad or anybody else, he would be just saying, oh, all right, okay, he would just sort of acknowledge it, but he wouldn't get into it. But the other guy, he got really into it. He's like, what? Oh my God. And, he was really a great listener, So that was the first bit that I thought was really great. And another bit was, there was another policeman as well. And a police officer, I was able to talk to him, and he was also, quite surprised by it. And then I sort of, almost by accident, came up with a strategy to get all the police to hear about my stories. So every like 20 minutes or so, I would lower the banners I was holding, the protest signs. I would say, okay, this is the protest sign I'm holding. One of them was, when was the last time you saw your family, and so on and so forth. And I would say, loud enough that the police officers all in front of me could hear me. I would tell them, yes, my mother's here, so on and so forth. And sometimes they would turn around and be like, oh, or they would sort of, they looked quite, oh, what's going on, and so on. And every few hours they would change. There would be somebody else. So then I would just kept on going, and so on and so forth. And then one of the police officers, he was really great, because I would make like practical jokes, and he would laugh. And then at one point I said, and incidentally, the police are very handsome. And he turned around and said, oh, stop it. He went like that. So we had a good time. yeah, the police they were great. They were really friendly. There was one police officer who was a little aggressive. When on the second day, during the day, because on the first day, on Friday, I went at night when it was quite dark. I went down to the stable, so we didn't really see much. So then I
Mm-hmm.
decided I'm going to go in the afternoon when there was still some light. And then I had a whole police car. Like, it wasn't a car, it was like a van. It was a van following me, plus
Yep.
the private security. And I felt like the queen. I mean, it was amazing. And
You are
and
the
then,
queen.
of course, I am the queen of fabulousness. And then when we went to the second gate, where there was the private entrance of Hubbard, he stepped out and he's like, "What are you doing?" And so on and so forth. But to put things into perspective and to give him the benefit of the doubt, in England they've had a lot of so-called protests that turn out to be very violent altercations with police and so on and so forth. You know, people throwing things, setting cars on fire. I mean, this has been going on for a while over the past few months. So it might very well be that he was like, okay, is he gonna storm the the castle or anything like that? So I do understand. I have no problem. And then I walked down to the stables, and then went with the car into the driveway, so I wasn't able to film so well.
Mm.
But yeah, I was there for a little bit, and then I went back again. Yeah, so I would say those are the sort of little highlights.
Did you get the sense at all? Just Selma, complicated last name. You were seriously fabulous. Yes, you were. Letting the police know what that's all about.
Yeah.
Did you get the sense at all that the police were maybe working a little bit in conjunction with Scientology? And the only reason I mention this is obviously that police officer following you, kind of blocking your path,
Mm-hmm.
as well as I did notice that a lot of police would, I think it was on Saturday, where the barriers went away.
Yes,
The
that's right.
police kept kind of congregating in front of you and
Mm-hmm.
acting as a bit of a blocker to kind of block, you know, call me paranoid or whatever, but I really got that sense that maybe they were kind of working a little bit towards Scientology's favor a bit. Do you get that sensation at all, having been there?
I would say overall, not at all. I thought they were very neutral. Um, but actually, I didn't mind them being so many people in front of so many police officers, because then more police officers were able to hear my anecdotes and stories
That's fair.
and whatever. So I
Yeah.
didn't really mind. So I sort of worked the situation to my favor in that sort of sense.
Right.
No, I don't. I would think they were very, yeah, quite neutral, friendly, and I don't know. I mean, it might very well be that they were called to go over there, or maybe they had, because there were a few OSA guys. I mean, one, Yolanda, she is an activist in Switzerland. She pointed out to me in the chat, this one guy with umbrella, he was from OSA, Germany. And there was another guy also with gray hair. He might also have been from OSA. It might very well be that every once in a while they would call an extra policeman, oh, I need to say something, so that they would be there, more people there, and so on and so forth. So I don't know if it was that, or if they were just telling them you need to block the view, and then they just went there. But yeah, I just used it to my advantage.
Which is amazing, and you were very good at that. What was I going to ask next? Oh yes, so you've only been home for what, less than 24 hours? Is that right?
Yes.
Yes.
I had,
Your plane was delayed, and
yeah, the OT committee, they got there in the end. They failed with the weather.
yeah.
They failed with the radio signal. They managed to do a little bit on Saturday, but probably they had to have a lie down because of the wind. And then on the whole Saturday, there was no problem at all with the connection. And then on the evening, my flight was delayed almost 4 hours in the end.
Wow.
But yeah, so I got home
They're-
at 11 o'clock at night. I took a shower and just went to bed, because I had to get up at 4 o'clock again.
They were playing the long game with you on that one.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not going to stop them from protesting, but darn, that plane's going to be late.
That's right. But you know what the funny thing was?
Mm-hmm.
On the plane, there were about 6 Basel executive Scientologists on there.
Oh, really?
Yes. And I was standing on the check-in. So this was after we finally got the number of, which gate we need to go to. And then everybody rushed there as though the gates are going to open now. I always walked there rather casually. Anyway, so then I was standing there and they came up and I saw them and I was like, oh my, I felt even more dread seeing them because
Yeah.
I knew them. They knew exactly. They were the executives. I mean, it's the same old faces as they were when I was a child.
Mm-hmm.
They were above, they were in charge of the things that were going on, things that I've talked about already, things that I have not talked about. They knew of all the stuff going on there, and then they were coming up, and part of me wanted to look away, and the cheeky part of me wanted to wave the head and say in German loud so that everybody could hear it. Say,
Yeah.
"Oh, hello, the Scientologists are here." Um, yeah, I really and part of me wanted to do that, but then the gentleman in me was like, "No, you can't do that," because I thought, yeah, it'd be kind of unfair because they're not here, on a capacity of, they're just passengers. I think
Yeah.
I thought that was it would have been, if I would have seen them walking into the gates or something like that, that would have been something different. But then they're
Right.
just there, they're just there being passengers. But I looked at them, I looked at all of them, and either they had really good TRs or they just genuinely didn't recognize me. I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, their TRs are probably pretty good,
Yeah,
but
probably.
it's funny because, like, in some cases where back in the day, if a Scientologist executive or OSA person saw you in an airport, they might actually go to the airport to get you
Right.
and harass you.
Yeah.
So if they saw you and didn't harass you, that's a big change,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Sure.
Um, yeah. So the point, the question I was going to ask you
Hmm.
before we went on that little tangent, what do you foresee the healing process being like for you going forward? I know it's very early days, but do you
Hmm.
feel that doing this is going to result in a certain amount of healing for you in this case, or um,
Yes, I
yeah.
think for me, my main sort of goal of healing is that I don't have this irrational fear anymore when I see a Scientologist, when I see an org, that
Mhm.
I can just look at it and there's no reaction or anything like that. That would be because I would say I've made my peace with the majority of my past. I mean, I've talked pretty much about everything in my past. There were certain things I have not said that happened in the org because I
Mhm.
don't want to talk about that, at least not now. And
Mhm.
I would say I can look back and I'm fine. I don't feel saddened or anything like that. When I look back, I'm kind of like, okay, well, that's what happened. Fair enough.
Mhm.
But just this fear, and also I mean, a big step for me would be to do any sort of protest here in Switzerland. Um, but so far I've been invited a couple of times, or invited. I've been informed, there will be something. Will you be there? And I've always found an excuse not to go. Um, yeah, but that, I mean, if I can do that, it would be amazing. But right now I need to sort of recover from the St. Hill experience, and then
Yeah.
we'll move on. But I've definitely feel since darling, since you've been there since the beginning, since the interview that I did with you, it's just only been going up. Really, my mental health, just it just on many different levels, it's just been doing better and better and better. Yeah. So
You're
I
upset.
only can. Yeah, I'm very upset. I've um cheers. It's been just going better and better, better, and even if it doesn't go any better right now, I mean, I've improved so much already, in my personal life, on that matter, um,
Mhm.
that I'll be perfectly happy if it doesn't go any more, so to speak. But looking at the statistics so far, it seems, yeah, it's gonna go up.
That's amazing, and that's really good to hear. It is always kind of a little bit scary to, uh, I guess, encourage someone to speak out,
Sure.
and you never know how it's going to turn out, right?
Yeah.
Um, I don't regret what I did, telling
Hmm.
my story, and however many forums
Hmm.
that as I have, I'm going public on YouTube and all that stuff. I don't regret it for a second.
Sure.
Um, like you said earlier, it's very empowering to take control of your story
Yeah.
and create your own narrative as opposed to um, kind of working off the past cult indoctrination.
Mm.
So I see that very much in you, and I love all the stuff that you're doing here on YouTube. You're
Cheers.
injecting your own personality into it, and you're just marvelous. Let's just say that.
Thank you.
Cool. Well, I think that's pretty much all I wanted to ask.
Sure.
We do have a bunch of comments, and my amazing wife, of course, is right behind this wall here on her own computer. She's been starring them.
Marvelous.
Before we
Thank
get
you.
into them, however, I would like to just remind everyone that we both have these channels and we're both telling our stories. And if anyone would like to support the channels, the very best way is liking and subscribing and watching our content.
That's right.
YouTube likes when you click through to another video, watch the whole thing. So please do that. And if you'd like to support either of our channels in a financial way or anything like that, give thanks. We both have links in our description, and you can become members or whatever. So it really does help the channels.
Yeah. Oh, and I must also say thank you very much to all the people who watched my live, to all the new channel members, to the marvelous, far too generous donations that I've received over the weekend. So I just want to say thank you again for that.
Yeah, it takes a lot to protest, and it's nice to see that people really enjoyed your coverage of it. And I mean, I think I had it on from start to finish. I don't know if I was able to catch all of every single second of it, but it was just
Sure.
it was always on. I actually had both streams going at the same time, and I would just kind of switch back and forth. So
probably put
all
down
right,
the volume a little bit.
Oh yeah, the bagpipes. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love bagpipes, but when it's the same song over and over again, and I was just thinking, I spent 3 days last year listening to those exact same songs. It got a bit much.
It's funny. I mean, maybe I'm racist or something, but it was only 3 bagpipe songs, but I didn't notice that really. I thought it was like maybe 10 different ones on a loop, but it turns out only to be 3. To me, it's all the same.
All bagpipes sound the same.
Exactly. I'm racist. I know, darlings. I own it. But
You should put that on a t-shirt.
Exactly. Please clip this and put it out of context,
Yeah, awesome. Well, maybe if my amazing wife would take charge of the comments and questions and throw up. Thank you very much. Scientology Up North comment. This should be called "He Returned to St. Hill to Protest, and he looked fabulous." Maybe I'll change my title. Cubana Chica. You were doing such amazing work, both of you. Well,
thank you.
I'm just here for the clout off of Samuel here.
Right, but I'm here for the clout. You have more subscribers than me, darling.
Apostate Alex comment. You did great, Sam. I agree, by the way. I am so impressed with your confidence and how well you kept your cool despite coming face to face with your abusers. It was truly an honor to stand alongside of you.
Thank you.
How was that experience for you? Oh, I remember meeting Alex for the first time.
Yeah.
Let's embarrass Alex a little bit. How'd you feel? What was it like meeting Alex for the first time?
I don't know. I mean, I met Alex in a crowd of other people, and I'm not a crowd person. So I sort of didn't take it in quite so, maybe, I don't know.
Okay, your attention was kind of everywhere?
All over the place, because I was like, oh. But no, it was great meeting him. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. Fabulous.
Well,
what exactly are you trying to get at? What exactly are you trying to get at?
No, when I first met Alex, so he met me at the airport. Okay. And we planned this whole thing together, and we didn't tell anybody that I was coming over there. It was a total surprise.
Yeah.
But he didn't actually think that I was going to show up. I think he thought that I was a plant. And I think he told me this, right? Jokingly, of course, but he was like, he traveled all the way to the airport to pick me up, which I think was like 45 minutes or an hour away on the tube. And he wasn't actually entirely sure I was going to show up, but he pretty much is the person that you see in real life on the internet, which is great.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's
Alex.
Yeah.
I will never forget meeting you the first time, Jeff. I wouldn't exactly call it love at first sight, but you grew on me.
Right.
Thanks, buddy.
Ginger love.
James Smith. I think nope. We're just clicking randomly here. This is great. Hey, how about the next comment? James Smith. You own the protest, Samuel. You never gave any indication you weren't in control and professional. Scientology are the ones obviously full of fear. I agree. They should be afraid. You faced your past, left the shame behind, and looked fabulous doing it. Agree. Saw the Denmark protest, love the banner Bianca created.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell everyone about that banner? Or?
Yeah, that was the banner with all the names, you know.
Okay.
All the names of the children that were abused. Yeah.
Yes.
Took a long time for her to write all the names out.
Rika has been writing those names out quite a bit outside Portland, just over and over again. They got washed off. She puts them down.
Yeah. Awesome.
It's really important. It's a really important part of this is to never forget those names.
Yeah.
No Name in Northwest. Thanks to Sam and everyone, I imagine, for helping on the UK protest, and to both of you for getting some of the story out to all of us. Here's to freedom from cult manipulation and lies.
Quite.
Hear, hear. Educon. Was great to meet you at St. Hill, Sam. I heard the police were watching your live stream on Saturday. Were they?
All right.
You're famous. Selma, complicated last name. Comment. I am so impressed with you two. Thank you very much. You are facing your demons head on and are growing every time we see you. Would you say you've grown quite a bit in the past year?
I mean, I've stayed pretty average, but although I've been told, yeah, I would say I've grown as in the sense of having faced my past, in that sense, being able to talk about it, not being embarrassed about it. Yeah, so in that way, I would say, I mean, in that way, I've grown. I don't know if outside of that as a person, I've really grown so much.
Okay. But you feel that you're taking charge, which is amazing.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I've definitely improved on that level for sure.
I have made a lot of changes in my life since doing this. So
yeah,
I always like to ask people what they've experienced. Style audit, First Amendment or 1A. Your Hamlet puts everyone to shame, and you never show fear. It's true.
My
I didn't
Hamlet.
get any sense. Hamlet, yes,
Oh,
not your
goodness.
helmet or helmet
My
or
Hamlet, yeah.
your hat. Your Hamlet.
My Shakespeare.
Yeah, Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Nice.
Thanks.
A Scientology rundown. Samuel is so brave, and you have the best jokes.
Well,
they're not cringy at all.
Well,
Yolanda SP Swiss. Oh, you'll have to read this one.
Sure, I'll read it out loud in German and translate it. Samuel, dein Humor hat alles überdeckt und Osa war machtlos. That means, Samuel, your humor sort of covered it all. I think she means like my nervousness and so on and so forth. And Osa had no power over me. Yeah.
That's a really good point. Like, that's the most important thing, is that power is so assumed, or it used to be assumed by them, that they have this sort of power over you, but they don't.
Right.
You have all the power. I have all the power. Every ex-Scientologist has all the power. Yes, and Yolanda also says you speak for many Church of Scientology kids / victims. I'm going to add on victims onto that one.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. A Scientology rundown. I think there are only 2 ex-flag cadets on the list as well. Oh, wow. So many that either still stuck or can't speak yet.
Yeah.
Hopefully one day they can. Selena. Hello, Selena. It was nice to see you there as well. Samuel, you showed such bravery and stood right up front. Staff, security, and police definitely overheard your story, and I know you had an impact.
I hope so, yeah.
I think you did too. Pinch of it. Pinch Becky.
Pinche
Oh,
Becky.
F given. Pinch Becky.
Pinche
Okay.
Becky, 0 F's given.
Okay. I've never said that out loud. I've only ever seen it written. So
Yeah.
I butchered it. Thank you very much. The definition of brave: having or showing mental or moral strength to face danger, fear, or difficulty. You are definitely brave.
All right. Thank you.
This is the Samuel love fest here.
Gosh,
Love it.
it's too much.
Selma, complicated last name. Comment: the mind of this cult runs so deep. I am so proud of you, Samuel, and thank you both for also being so vulnerable and open online.
Yeah.
I'm curious. Let's delve into this very briefly.
Sure.
What are your thoughts on being so vulnerable online? Do you ever get to the sense of like, I wish I didn't say that, or would you or do you like try and retreat, or is it just kind of like, yeah, I'm okay with that and just move on?
You see, I think many ex-Scientologists have this problem of oversharing because you're
Mhm.
never allowed to hide anything. You always have to say everything. When you're given, particularly if you have a senior someone from HCO, from someone in charge of ethics, and ask you a question, it would never occur to you to hide a part of a story, or you would just say exactly as it was and not, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so I definitely overshare, also privately. I'm better at it than I did in the past. I would just, it was quite bad. But no, I don't think I've not. The only thing I regret on my video is maybe the bad lighting, or the my bald spot being too shiny. But from actually having said anything, no, I don't think so. I can't think of anything that I said that I wish I had not said. So yeah.
Cool. That's great. I mean, that's amazing. I definitely sometimes, not all the time, not that I regret what I said, but I sometimes feel the vulnerability.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, I know
it's
what you
like
mean.
it's
Giving
kind of like
giving
it's like
away too
you
much of
have a
yourself.
wound. Well, yeah, there's that for sure, but it's like having a wound and you don't want your wound to be known, but you've put it out there and now there's really no hiding it. Like everyone
Right.
knows
Yeah.
about me, you
Yeah.
know?
I mean, there are a couple of things from my past here in Basel that I've never talked about, and I don't know if I will ever talk about them, but I've locked them away. So,
Mm.
but everything around that, yeah, I've pretty much exposed myself, you know, with everything that has happened, particularly also nationally now. I mean, a national a newspaper and a national magazine
Mhm.
published my story, and I always think to myself, oh God, I hope nobody walks in the restaurant because I have like a name tag, so
Right.
if somebody's like, he looks like, and then they see, oh my God, it is him. I just hope nobody ever, because it would be so awkward because you can't sort of run away, you know what I mean? Because you are there, serving them or whatever,
Yeah.
so it's kind of awkward, but so far nothing has happened. So thankfully,
Yeah.
but yeah, it is strange, telling all about your past to a whole bunch of strangers basically. And but I think it is important to do so, to sort of bring more reality on the subject in that sense, because many people talk about the abuse and so on and so forth. Okay, but what exactly? Give me an example, and
Right.
being able to give exact example, giving a date, naming people, this and that and the other. I think that gives it much more. In Germany, you would say there's much more meat on the bone. You know what I mean? There's more.
Mhm.
You can really, and I think that is also what I noticed when I was at the protest and I was speaking unnecessarily, like on a stage, like a stage whisper about what happened there, right there, a few meters away. I think that was quite an impact to the police officers and security, private security, because it's like, oh wow, he was actually, there, and he's talking about things that were there and so on and so forth. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And as Educon says, I think telling your story to the Sussex police has done more good than you may never ever know. I
Sure.
agree.
Sure. You don't know.
And Alex has confirmed that they were watching both of the streams after they finished work.
I can just imagine them like with a box of donuts, sitting there with a leg
Samuel.
with the legs like this, and they're like slurping the cup of Joe, and watching. Yeah, I can I just see that in my head.
I'm not going to make any comments about donuts.
Well, actually, this would have been maybe in America. Here in England, they would obviously sit very neatly with crumpets, jam and clotted cream, naturally. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds really good too. Now I want a donut and all that. Awesome. Next comment here, Kathy. I, for one, feel very honored that you trust us with your truth. I felt very honored when we did our first interview together that you entrusted me to, have that platform. It is tough, but it's also important. It's testimony to how abusive Scientology is that will never go away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Brad, Drop Short Media. I can say that I have hugged both of you. I'm lucky.
And ever since, you've not washed your arms.
Yeah. Ever since last year, actually, I think.
Exactly. Yeah. So I've got a little bit of your DNA on me.
Oh, you guys did have that lovely dinner, didn't you?
We did, yes.
Scientology and Broken Promises comment. Every one of the protesters was caring for each other, checking in with each other, giving free hugs when needed, and they felt very safe with the group. And it was a group of great people. That's awesome. Yeah. I would say that's the same as last year, and maybe this year might have even been even more kinder. There was already a developed pattern, which is amazing. I think we got one more. No, we don't. That one I think we already did. So I think that'll be it for today.
Marvelous.
So Samuel, thank you very much for being there, for protesting.
It was a pleasure and an honor to stand there with Alex and all the other guys, and obviously with the hundreds of people watching. Again, as far as I'm concerned, you were all there with us protesting.
We were definitely there supporting you. I know I was, and there were so many people that were. And for everyone else who was there at the protest, thank you for standing up for the abuses or against the abuses, and helping us spread the truth that is Scientology kind of sucks.
Kind of, yeah.
Thanks for everyone who joined today and on the replay crew. Make sure you subscribe to both of our channels.
Yes, please.
Like and watch some more videos. And until next time, have a great day. Bye.